faria se a casa e o vilarejo em que você morou a vida inteira fossem de uma hora para outra soterrados por um tsunami de lama fervente? E se os responsáveis por essa tragédia, que desalojou mais de 60 mil pessoas, nunca fossem punidos e nem assumissem sua responsabilidade pelo acidente, que na verdade foi provocado pelas atividades de fracking, ou a extração do gás xisto? Um vulcão de lama foi atingido no subterrâneo e aí então tudo começou. Pois Dian, a menina que viu sua infância mudar completamente desde esse dia, em 2006, na Indonésia, decidiu lutar por justiça ao lado dos vizinhos e de sua mãe. É a saga dessa jovem que Vulcão de Lama, a luta contra a injustiça, acompanha. Dirigido pelas premiadas Cynthia e Sasha Friedlander, o filme nos revela com contundência, mas profunda beleza, que essa batalha vale a pena ser travada. Cynthia conversou conosco sobre essa aventura e começou contando como a ideia surgiu. Confira.
This was the most difficult film I've ever tried to edit working as a director. First of all, we followed 3 families for 5 years, very democratically, like very evenly. And in the course of the editing, it became very clear that there were so many environmental and political issues that we needed to distill the story down really into Dion, the main character's perspective, which meant that one family totally got cut out of the story, and then the second family became kind of a supporting characters, supporting roles. And we were constantly kind of challenging ourselves with like how much information, because there's this whole thing of like, what's a movie without popcorn? Like, what's a movie that's not fun without popcorn? A documentary, like that somehow documentaries are so like, eat your vegetables, like now I need to learn about this. And especially this film is a film about mud. It's a feature-length documentary about mud, and it's subtitled. Like, that's a lot to ask of an audience, at least, on the surface. So for all of those reasons, it took a couple of years to edit the film.
I can imagine. And also, like, how was the process? How this idea came to your mind, and how Sasha came to the project?
I was in Indonesia, and I was directing a short piece for a nonprofit in 2012, in May 2012. So at that point, it was it was coming up on a mud anniversary again, because the mud anniversary every year in Indonesia is May 29th. And so I went and visited. I'd heard about it, and I went and visited, and just got some initial footage. But I really struggled with, like, this is not my story to tell. I'm an American. I haven't lived in Indonesia. I do not know Bahasa, the local language, and this is not my story to tell. And so I put it away. I was also, though, aware that I was in a position where I could probably raise money for the documentary, because it was environmentally themed, and because I could see that there were issues of social justice and feminism. But I really had to put it on the back burner, and for more than a year thought, this would be a great story to tell. I am not the filmmaker to tell the story. And it wasn't until I saw Sasha's feature-length documentary shot and edited in East Java. Sasha is somebody who grew up partially in Indonesia. She's somebody who is fluent in the language, worked as a journalist, has lived in both Jakarta and Bali, that I approached her. And so in that way, we were sort of married. We were kind of married together, and worked together. And, just over time, we were able to carve out sort of what I was strong at and what she was strong at, and work together to tell the story. And we worked obviously with an Indonesian crew. We did have partially an American crew, but we worked pretty heavily with an Indonesian crew as well.
But it did great because it's so well balanced. Like you also shot the film, you edited. How did you think about the narrative?
Well, one of the things that we made a decision about early on was to really lean into the look of the film. There are certain documentaries, and I've made them before, that are very reactive, where it's happening so quickly in a window of time that's just, it's closing so quickly that you kind of grab a camera. Lots of documentary filmmakers do it. They grab a camera, they go, it's really scrappy. It's kind of messy, but you're trying to get the story as it's unfolding because this window is closing. This was a really different film because this was is a very slow moving social justice issue, where years and years and years go by, where the survivors of this massive mud disaster are fighting for justice and not getting justice. So because of that, we had to approach the storytelling and the look in a way that was very proactive as opposed to reactive. So we decided, for instance, when we raised the money through grants, and that's what we did over years, we wrote grants and we were rejected from lots of them, but then we would get some and then we would go back and we would get others. And it was just this sort of stop and start, that all of the money would go into the cinematography and the lenses. So we were shooting on an Alexa. We did some of the shooting on a Red. And we only shot with prime lenses. So there are no like moments of zooming in or anything. Like, we would really think about it almost like a photograph or a photographic essay. And that was really important to us to find the look. So at least then, if the audience is going to watch a film about mud that's subtitled, at least then they can kind of lean into the cinematography of it and be like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to be in this place, this weird, strange lunar landscape of a place, this place that almost looks like the moon, and I'm just going to be here. And in a way, it allows the audience to locate itself.
I really like the moment in the film when he quotes Trump.
Yes. I mean, he draws a parallel between Trump and himself. Yes.
And you could give us a sense that everything is connected, not only in Indonesia, but all around the world.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to have made this film prior to the pandemic, because part of the reason we wanted to make the film is, and for sometimes we didn't get a grant, and people would say, well, why should we care? Like, why should we care here in the States? Like, sometimes I would get that kind of an answer from a funder. And of course, we're all connected, and it's all about corporate influence in democratic institutions. And if there is money, and if there's this blending of sort of corporate spoils and interests and people being able to enrich their own pockets and their families' pockets in what is the veneer of a democracy, if that can happen, what does that mean for the people? And so it's completely relevant to the United States, to Brazil, to Indonesia. It's completely relevant. And I think, if anything, the pandemic has really taught us, or reminded all of us, how fragilely connected we all are.
I would like to ask you, how did you have the idea of using the statues to mark, the time? Because the time passes, as you said, years and years. You were traveling there, and back and forward, filming,
Mm-hmm. There's an Indonesian artist, Dadang Kristianto, who grew up in Indonesia. He actually now lives in Australia. Really amazing, strong visual artist. And so he decided that he was going to, from the mud and also from this kind of concrete mixture, build these larger than life size mud statues, about 8 feet tall, so larger than life, men and women. And people came and pulled out things that they had lost, if they even hadn't been drowned in the mud. Almost like an offering to the universe. Well, it turns out this became a marker so helpful visually in the film, because as the mud continues to rise, and the mud continues to rise and will continue to explode until about the year 2030, they think, the mud rose to the knees, and then to the waist, and then to the chest. And so visually, you're able to talk to the audience and show the audience that the mud continues to rise, and now they're completely under the mud, all of the statues.
How was talking to the, Lapindo CEO?
I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity, and very grateful for the people that helped arrange it. And I'm very grateful that he was able to, to speak. were very careful in letting him tell his side of the story and also making sure that we were really contextualizing what he's saying and not taking anything out of context. We didn't. I think the film is a lot richer and more nuanced for his interview.
How do you see this kind of films and also this kind of festivals? Now we are doing online festivals, but this kind of discussions that we promote with cinema.
Well, I'm so sorry because I am a visual person. And of course, this film is best seen on a big screen. I'm so sorry in a way that we are in this place of, everybody's watching films on their laptops. On the other hand, it's allowed us to have these more in-depth conversations, one-on-one conversations online. And certainly it's allowed all of us to, I think, tap into more nonfiction storytelling and documentaries at home. So it's a mixed bag.
So you think cinema that has a big role in times that we should discuss more environment and how we are linked?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think books and movies and podcasts now too, are huge in people's understanding of really complex issues in the world.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Essa foi Cynthia Wade, inspiradora. Fique ligado, ainda tem muito mais conversa boa vindo por aí, aqui na Mostra Ecofalante 2020.